I have a RP fetish and it makes me feel so guilty. I'm 18F and have had this very persistent fetish ever since I was started getting sexual desires, hit puberty, likely because I was touched as a kid. Like the thoughts of a male friend or boyfriend forcing himself on me is very arousing, like it's what gets me wetter and more turned on than anything else. It feels so shameful and confusing. There is something wrong with me, I just want to be heavily dominated by a man. Not actually raped, because that has happened before and it was awful, but borderline raped. I likely developed this fetish as a coping mechanism or something along those lines, for example when my ex-boyfriend would force me to do things with him. My body would get aroused, I'd get wet, but I'd be crying or wanting it to stop, though I got this sick pleasure from it too. My ex was a prostitute and I genuinely feel bad. Back when I was in middle school, I had a crush on a girl who was way out of my league. The advantage I had over other guys was that I happened to live 2 houses down from her. Our parents were friends and I would frequently see her at neighborhood barbecues. But we never communicated outside of a few waves. At the time I wasn't thinking about relationships and dating. Me being a prepubescent 7th grader didn't help my case. The funny thing is that people would come up to me in the hallways and joke with me about her having a crush on me. I say joke in quotes because I honestly had no clue that they were being 100% serious. Eventually she asked me out on our usual walk home from the bus stop. We dated almost immediately. However, the relationship didn't last long. 2 months in and she dumped me for a junior in high school. Let me remind you again that we were both in the 7th grade at the time. He was 16 and she was 12. In most states you either get away with it due to Romeo and Juliet laws, or if you get caught you can get a statutory rape charge. I hated her for it. However, I didn't understand the magnitude of their relationship until much later. He was the holy trio of abusive towards her. Emotionally, sexually, and physically. In 2018 he was arrested for a separate statutory rape charge with an 11-year-old girl. And hit with 4 more rape, assault, and kidnapping charges a year after his sentence. Apparently he became a pimp, who was selling young girls to prostitution. My ex was one of his first victims. We are both 20 now. I only found all of this info out when her mom, who I happen to be Facebook friends with, posted her recovery photos. For the last 4 years, she was working as a prostitute in a major city not far from my house. At the time her mom found her, she was 80 pounds pale as a ghost from the drugs. And her hair was gray. She looked like she was 50 years old. I'm writing all this because out of all of my exes, she's the only one I will ever truly forgive. None of what happened to her was entirely her fault. And I truly wish her the best recovery possible. I came out as gay and my church kicked me out. I'm a gay male, and everyone on here has been so supportive, so I decided to come out to my mother. She didn't believe me at first and I thought it was a good reaction like wow, I can't believe it. But no, it was a I can't believe you. Being a heavily Christian family, my mom called my pastor that evening. I was so anxious, hoping he would say God loves everyone or something, but an hour later I got his call. He said people were already uncomfortable around me due to my past self-harm scars. They thought I was a sinner, even though my pastor said it's a symptom not a sin. So, with that, he said if the rest of the church found out, they'd all run to him with complaints, so it's best if I don't return. Before everyone comments hate about my religion and cut off everyone who doesn't support you, it's just a church such and such, please keep in mind I've been going to this church since I was a small boy and all of my friends are there, and even without the religion aspect of it, it was always fun to hang out with the other guys and play basketball and everything. I just wanted to get this off my chest, so please no hate towards my religion. It isn't the religion's fault, it's the people in it. I can follow God without the church, but now I'll be without my friends, and possibly kicked out by my mother. I need support, please. Just comment something happy. I'm 45F and I've only had sex once. I was 21, the one and only time I had sex, and I didn't even really want to do it. I was extremely depressed at the time, and when a guy friend I was hanging out with kissed me, I went along with it because I did think he was cute, but when he got hard and wanted to have sex, I said I didn't want to, and he said, too late now, and just did it. I didn't fight him. I didn't even try, because honestly, I didn't really care. I just laid there and let him do his thing. Just waited for him to be done. I hadn't wanted to do it, but I really didn't care that he didn't listen. I was too depressed. When he finished and left, I thought, well, at least I can say I'm not a virgin anymore. I wasn't traumatized by it, because like I said, I just didn't care. I got tested for STDs just in case and was fine. And I did stop hanging out with him after that, cause logically, I knew what he did wasn't right. Now, here's why I haven't been with anyone since. And it's a long story, so if you actually read it all, I appreciate it. I started disassociating when I was 13, because my home life was miserable. My dad was a malignant narcissist and escaping into my head was my go-to way of coping. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder at 18, and around the same time, fell in love with a boy who was everything to me. As much as I wanted to be intimate with him, I was scared of sex because of how I was raised, so I wanted to take it slow. He had his own troubles with drugs and depression, and not too long after we got together, his demons became too much for him to handle and he killed himself. His death destroyed me. We'd barely had a chance to begin and suddenly he was gone. I pushed all my friends away and retreated into my head to cope. I gained weight, and for several years, felt nothing. Eventually, I made a few new friends, and even tried messing around with another boy, but I felt absolutely nothing when I was with him. Then I met the one who forced me, and like I said, I was so depressed I felt nothing and just didn't care that it happened. A couple years later, I moved across the county to be near my mom when my parents retired in another state. My new psychiatrist started giving me the wrong meds and the new meds made it impossible to function. I was living in a 24/7 state of anxiety, became agoraphobic, and disappeared into my head completely. I started doing something called maladaptive daydreaming. I was on Social Security disability so I didn't have to worry about working, so I lived 24/7 in fantasy worlds inside my head. I reached 300 pounds, had no friends, lived in rags and filth, and ceased to be a person in the real world. 25 years went by. Now, even though I am doing much better finally, I went so long without my own identity, that it's taken me some time to learn how to be a real person again. There's some residual damage I am dealing with, but I am doing really well now. I lost 50 pounds so far, and I plan to keep losing. I've made some good friends, and rediscovered my identity. I'd like to start dating, but I am so embarrassed and ashamed to admit to any man I might meet that I am basically still a virgin. I may have technically had sex once, but it was so long ago, and I got absolutely no enjoyment out of it. I've never had an adult romantic relationship and that is so fucking embarrassing. I'm 45, for God's sake, and I feel like I have more in common with 20-year-olds than I do people my own age. It feels like I fell asleep at 18 years old and woke up a 40-year-old. I feel like such a freak. I hate it. A letter to my cheating husband. There are two sides to every story. You've told yours. Here's mine. December 17th, we met at a Christmas party. Your words were filled with charisma and promises of your character. I welcomed you into my life and body. December 31st, a drunk, you vowed that I was it for you, that you'd be different. January 10th, you deleted all your dating apps and accounts. January 28th, I met your family. Your mother critiqued my appearance and ethnicity. I thought she would be blonde ring through my ears for years. February 1st, you asked me to be monogamous. February 14th, you sent me flowers. My colleagues cooed over the lavished gift from my new lover. February 17th, you began using dating apps while traveling for work. Between April and August, you slept with 19 women while traveling for work. October 15th, you moved your clothes into my closet, smiling and laughing. We built new furniture and drew correlations to the life we would have. November 2nd, you met a new face on a dating app. November 19th, you slept with her for the first time. December 1st, she asked you to be her boyfriend. December 3rd, you expressed your lack of commitment towards me and indifference to my love. You declared me a monster in the way of your happiness. Tears filled my eyes as my heart began to believe the things you said. December 16th, you raged through my living room after I discovered your post about me on Reddit. You gloated in your victory with the army of comments in your support. My heart broke as I accepted that I was as horrible as you proclaimed. January 24th, you conquered my body without consent. You broke every barrier and sense of safety. That night left scars on my soul that I see in the mirror every day. March 22nd, you loudly declared your love for me. You announced to our families our engagement. I watched wide-eyed at their responses while I began to realize that I never said yes. September 18th, we eloped. The high of the future was enough to guide me while I blindly leapt and accepted the flaws you declared were all my own. October 4th, you began looking for someone else. November 7th, you met a woman in a neighboring town who satisfied her every need. November 22nd, you began seeing her twice a week. December 9th, you sent her flowers and asked her to be yours. December 24th, you and your family mocked and attacked my mother, the woman who gave me the world, whose face is my own. December 25th, you gave her a golden bracelet and made love to her throughout the night. January 9th, you begged her to be yours forever. January 29th, she began to question your behavior. February 16th, she told her friends. Together they began looking for your flaws. February 17th, she messaged me. She vividly exposed the love you had built together and the promises you made her. Photos of date nights, laughter, and flesh crossed my screen. When I showed you the proof, you laughed at me. February 18th, you blamed her. You deleted your dating apps and profiles. February 21st, you convinced me to stay. March 8th, I hurt myself for the first time. March 9th, you scrolled through Snapchat messages, bodies, and women. You pleasured yourself while looking at your trophies. March 10th, you found me. A nurse expressed admiration for you as they watched you sit next to the hospital bed. My hollow body longed for darkness while my soul remained shattered. April 4th you took a new fling to dinner. She took you home that evening. April 21st I ate my first meal. Crackers, salami, and cheese. June 17th you took me to Colorado in hopes to reignite me. I watched the world through hollow eyes as I wished to be anywhere but by your side. June 25th you messaged your ex-girlfriend, now a single mother. June 30th you blamed me for why you could not explore your desires. July 19th your ex-girlfriend messaged you in the middle of the night. Her body exposed for you. Longing for you to enter. July 20th you showered my bed with roses, blankets, and gifts. Begging for me to not slip away again. Although, I had never returned. August 8th a therapist asked why I was there. You answered with dedication to our marriage. November 24th your phone rang, the caller was beautiful. December 25th I sat with my family, still broken. March 4th you left my home for the last time. I bought myself flowers and filled the rooms with scents of sage and lavender. April 26th I stared at the judge's signature after a long war. The victory was mine and I survived.